Hey, what's up YouTube? We are back at it again, taking another look at another top 11 AR games for iOS 11 to run on your iPhone 10. So just to clear up some confusion on my last video, some people were trying to use AR apps on devices that aren't supported, and so in today's video I just wanted to start it out by saying in order to use ARKit and AR apps that use ARKit, you have to have an A9, A10, or A11 chip in your device. And now the devices that support and have that hardware are the iPhone 6s, 6s Plus, iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, the iPhone SE, the iPad Pro 9.7, 10.5, and 12.9 inch, both first and second gen, the newest 2017 iPad, as well as the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and of course the brand new iPhone 10. Now in today's video in particular, I actually used the 2017 iPad. I didn't use the iPad Pro, and I did not use any iPhone to record this footage, and to record the footage in further detail, I just used the screen capture option in iOS 11. So that was a really quick way to get the footage into a video editing program so I can show you guys the games that we are reviewing. So in today's video, we are taking a look at Tsuro, The Machines, Euclidean Lands, Arise, My Country, Domino World AR, ZG Revenant, Mancala FS5, Hologram AR, AR Basketball, and Follow Me Dragon, not necessarily in that order. So stay tuned as we dive deeper and take a look at each one of these AR games individually, and I'll show you exactly why they are on my top 11 list. So starting up at number 11, we have Follow Me Dragon, and if you guys remember, I did a review on AR Dragon, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I like Follow Me Dragon just a little bit better. There's more customization and more you can do with the animated character on screen. Just like the previous app, you can have him move around and play with him with a little ball, but in this one, for example, you can change the color and the size of the dragon, and overall the character just seems more animated and the app seems more developed than AR Dragon. As you guys can see from this clip here, you can easily change his size. He does little animations like that throughout playing the game. There's little yellow dots on the bottom, which adds for a nice effect. And in this next clip, you can even see there's custom skins for the dragon himself. But overall, it's not one of the most advanced games, but it is a lot of fun if you are brand new to AR games. And if you want to check it out, I will have the link down in the description directly to the App Store. Anyway, that is Follow Me Dragon. Next up, we have AR Basketball coming in at number 10. This is yet another pretty simple game as far as AR games go, but it essentially adds a virtual basketball hoop around your house. It kind of feels like advanced paper toss, but it's not too bad. But essentially, you can shoot at different positions around your house, trying to aim at this virtual reality basketball hoop and make basketballs. Now, as you can see, every time you make it, the hoop changes its height. To shoot the ball, you pull down this little lever on the right. That just determines the amount of strength the ball has. But like I said, this is a pretty simplistic app and is the reason why it's coming in at number 10, right behind Follow Me Dragon. It's not the most advanced, and later in this video we'll be getting into more advanced and more complex and actually fun to play that last a little bit longer than this. I mean, it was cool, but I only played it for maybe all of 10 minutes, and that was about that. Anyway, coming in at number 9, we have Mancala FS5, and essentially this just adds an augmented reality Mancala game board to your desk. This game can also be played without the augmented reality option enabled, so it's a pretty sweet Mancala game if you are into Mancala. I won't have time in this video to go into all the rules about Mancala, but if you are familiar with the game, this is a pretty sweet augmented reality option if you are also into new AR games. But since Mancala isn't really a new game, and the fact you can play this without the AR mode enabled, that's kind of the reason why this is coming in at number 9. It's pretty sweet that game developers are turning normal games into augmented reality games, but as far as new and interesting games go, it's just not that advanced compared to some of the games that we're going to discuss later in this video. Alright, so next up is ZG Revenant, and this game is a zombie killing game that is AR based. So if I go ahead and just start a new game, it will go ahead and display the battlefield. Now, as you guys can see, this game picks up your surroundings pretty quickly and lets you easily place your base or the battlefield on top of the desk. So I will just go ahead and align it up here real fast. But once you have the desired spot where you want it to be placed, you go ahead and just tap and you are ready to go and click continue. So once you click continue and place your base, you can see the game has started. Up in the top left shows you where exactly you are within the game. The object is to survive 15 rounds of a zombie invasion. And there is our first sight. Up in the top left are some of the first zombies. Now you are a pilot shooting down from the sky at the wave of zombies. Anyway, later in this game you'll see what other creatures beside the herd of zombies come at you, but at the very top for now you can see what wave you're currently on and how many zombies you have killed. So if I just skip ahead a little bit here, like I said, there are bigger creatures that take more firepower, and as the zombies get closer you can see that the trucks at the base also shoot at the zombies and the creatures that are coming at you. But even though this game starts out rather slow, it ramps up in intensity very quickly as multiple creatures and multiple zombies come at you at once. In this example, I managed to survive 14 waves, killing roughly around 220 zombies until they have entered my base. Anyway, this game is pretty fun and it's pretty unique. That's why it comes in at number 8, but at the same time, after a while it does get repetitive because it is roughly the same exact thing every single time. Anyway guys, that is number 8 with ZG Revenant, which is the zombie killing game. Alright, so coming in at number 7 is Hologram AR. This one is another fighting AR game, and this one is turn-based. Anyway, to start up and initially set it up, I'll go ahead and point my device at my table and my flat surface, just so it can scan the room, and once that is done and once you find an optimal place to place the game board, you can go ahead and click continue. Anyway, here we are. So this first screen that we're presented with is just the loading screen, and honestly one of my favorite parts of this game is just the graphics. It looks pretty sweet. Unfortunately, I wish the gameplay was just a little bit more exciting and engaging, but in any sense, I will show you what this game looks like. So when you first open it up for the very first time, it will launch you into this tutorial teaching you guys how the game is played. Essentially, you just spawn different characters that are at your disposal onto the game board. They can do different movements, but essentially the goal is to attack the enemy players. And while this tutorial is somewhat helpful, unfortunately it is a very simplified version compared to that of an actual game and how the actual game is played. It is much more of a strategy game, as I'll show you here in just a second. So as you'll initially see in this example right here, once you jump into the game, it gets much more complex than just 1 or 2 characters on your side and 1 or 2 characters on the enemy side. Like I said at the beginning of this game, it is a turn-based game, so you go and then the AI or your online opponent goes next. But that being said, you use your different characters to attack the enemy characters, and as you can see, they can take different movements across the game board and they deal different damage depending on how powerful they are. But like I said, one of my favorite things about this game is just how nice it looks and how well the graphics run just even on an iPad and not even on the iPhone 10. But that is the biggest thing I like about this game. Unfortunately, even though it is a fighting game, the action just doesn't seem too intense because it is turn-based, and that seems to be the biggest flaw about this game. It is pretty easy to win against the AI. Granted, I think playing online players might make this a little bit more challenging. Anyway, that was just a quick look at Hologram AR, and again, that is coming in at number 7. Alright, so next up is Domino World, and I had a lot of fun filming this one because it's a really interesting and unique game. So again, just like previous apps, when you first launch it, it will go through an on-screen tutorial giving you the basics of how to use the app. So just like you guessed it, this is an augmented reality version of Dominoes. Now there are a lot of features, but to quickly get started, you simply hold and drag to place the dominoes on screen. Now you can make this as simple or complex as you want, but again, just for the white dominoes, which we're starting out with, you can create multiple patterns and have them link up, or just start with one. Anyway, once you have the pattern that you want, you can go ahead and click start in the bottom left, and the dominoes will begin to fall in the pattern that you laid them out. So this is a lot of fun, and as you guys might have seen right there, the yellow arrow is the indicator of where the pattern will start. That being said, this is just a quick example. Again, you can make this as complicated as you want, and you also have a lot of tools at your disposal. You can create new dominoes, you can erase, you can reset, you can clear the entire board, but most notably, in the very center, you can pull up this dialog box, which is a toy box letting you choose which color dominoes or other toys that are accessible that you can place, like this dominoes tower, for example. So just quickly erasing the board and restarting here, I wanted to make just a little bit more complicated of a pattern to really show off the dynamics of this app. I'm going to start start off with some blue dominoes. I'll pull up my toy box and select a few other assets at my disposal. From here, I continued the pattern with these musical note dominoes, which play a piano key in the tune of F, and then A. As you can see, there is a lot of variety that you have to choose from, and I was just quickly randomly choosing different ones to show off all that you can make. Anyway, these ones have some bubble effects. These ones are bombs, which should explode. I really don't know what they look like. This one is a tower with a flag at the end. So in the end, let's see what this looks like. I'll go ahead and press start, and the race is on. First up, it hits the tower, and then we have the bubbles, and then the bombs, and finally the flag at the very end. And it comes up with a little awesome logo at the top. So that was one example that's a little bit more complex. I'll do one last example showing off this game, but the one thing I did notice is you do need a lot of table space to really get this app working correctly. In the end, like I said, I had a lot of fun playing around with this AR Dominoes game called Domino World, and again, this is coming in at number 6 on my top 11 AR games list. Anyway, moving on to number 5. So while the first half of this video featured some games that were nice introductions into AR, in the next couple of games that I'm going to show off and demo, these are the ones that really impress me and actually use AR in a really meaningful way, and actually do it pretty nicely. Anyway, I will get into this in more detail. Next up, for number 5, we have Tsuro. And this is another board game just like Mancala that has been transformed into an AR world. Anyway, I don't think this game actually is a physical game, it's just an iOS app that has an AR feature, but I wanted to feature it in this video talking about the top AR games because it is a really fun and strategic game to play. So like I said just a second ago, this is entirely a strategy game, and basically the goal of this game is to remain on the board for as long as possible and to complete as many moves by staying on the board. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second, but before we get too far, I just wanted to first enable the augmented reality option and feature and then show you guys the game in augmented reality. So just like the other games, I'm going to first place the game board onto my desk, and you can pinch to resize the board as well to make it fit your desk size in better proportions. Anyway, once it is placed, now I will go into really how this game works. So the very first thing you're going to do is you can pick a game piece, and it has multiple different colors. It really doesn't matter which color. As you can see, there's different cards right here on the right that you'll use in game, but essentially you just pick a piece and drag it to the very edge, and that's going to be your starting place. So to start this game, you can go ahead and tap on the card deck to get started, and as you can see, the other game pieces will move off of the board. Anyway, now that you're all set up, 3 cards in the bottom right will be placed at your disposal to use during the game, and I'll just go ahead and enter my name real quickly just to have that out of the way. Alright, and back to the game. So to get started, you essentially pick one of these game board pieces and drag it onto the board, and when you drag it, your character will move. And like I said, the goal of this game is to place as many of these cards on the board in a strategic way so that your game piece remains on the board for as long as possible. As you can see in the top left, there is a distance counter, and that is essentially your score. There's also a side objective to see how many loops or how many times your game piece can cross over your already traveled path, but essentially, like I said, in the end it really comes down to keeping your piece on the board for as long as possible so that you place as many cards. As you can see, there's different paths on each individual card, and you have 3 options. You can rotate them for every single move. So in my opinion, this is a really fun strategic game, whether you're playing this in AR or not, but it's really nice that there is an augmented reality option. Because of this augmented reality feature, you can do things like reach across the board and see the game board more clearly. You can zoom into your cards and see exactly where they're going to go, and you can just easily map out where your character is actually going to go rather than playing it without the augmented reality feature enabled. Anyway, like I said, the object of the game is to keep your game piece on the board for as long as possible, and that means the game ends when you are out of moves and your character eventually ends up off the board. That concludes the game. You can see how many tiles you used, how far you actually traveled in centimeters, and how many loops you've made. So those are the 3 objectives that you go after in this game. Anyway, that was a quick look at Tsuro, and again, that is coming in at number 5. Next up, for number 4, we have the game called Arise. Alright, so let's take a closer look at Arise. When you launch the app, you are taken to the home screen, which shows off all the levels that are available, and when you first start the game, of course, the only level that is the very first level, so that is one that I'm going to select. But this game is a really unique AR game, and this is entirely AR. You can't play this without the AR function, and as you'll see in just a second, this uses AR in a very unique way. The object of the game is to get from the very start of the path to the very end, but as you can see, the path at its current state is incomplete. Now, to complete the path, you have to move your viewing angle, meaning you have to move your phone or your iPad or whatever device that you're holding. You physically have to move around in physical space to have the objective dots line up to make the path complete. As you can see, you move your phone around until these dots become blue, and then the character will be able to walk across the path successfully. And that is essentially the main antagonist in this game, is the path not being complete, and it's really fun to have to move around and find how to complete the path just by moving your phone around and seeing where these objective dots are. And like I said, this is the very first level, so some of these very first ones are pretty simple, but some of them are not as obvious as you think. Some of the objective dots are on the top of the paths, meaning you have to look down onto the map to have these objective dots complete. So you really have to put on your thinking cap and get quite active to play this game. And mostly there's just a learning curve when you first start this game. You really don't know what all the obstacles are. For example, this tunnel here took me a while to figure out that he can actually go behind it and walk through it. But that also adds some challenge to it and makes this game pretty fun. Another thing that took me a little while to figure out was this little stone thing right here, having that line up to extend the pathway, and then again right after that we have to look down at the map to have these dots line up and for him to walk up the stairs. Like I said, at the very end, once you reach the end of the path, you essentially win the level, and some of the animation in this game is pretty awesome. In the end, it's just a really well developed game and is a lot of fun to play. It is extremely hard at times and frustrating, but that is what makes this game a whole lot of fun. Anyway, that was just a quick look at Arise, and again, that is coming in at number 4. So next up for number 3, we have Euclidean Lands. So this game, like some of the ones that I've previously talked about in this video, can be run in a non-AR mode, but when you open it up in AR mode, you can see that it looks pretty sweet. Now, this is a puzzle game, and the object of this game is to get from the very start to the end and tackle all the objects in the way. As you can see, this first level was very simple, but later on it gets very complicated very fast. But just overall, again, the graphics are pretty sweet in this game. And it gets pretty complex, like I said, because it is meant to be a puzzle game, and it is meant to make you think a little bit. So like this guy right here, we end up having to attack different enemies throughout the game as well. Other elements like needing a shield for a frontal attack when facing an enemy are needed, which make the game more complex in the end. Anyway, to really get a gist of what one level of this game looks like, I will just go ahead and play through this clip right here, which is one of the first 4 or 5 levels in the game. Anyway, that was a quick look at Euclidean Lands. Next up, for number 2, we have My Country, and essentially this game is an AR-based version of something like SimCity. In the game, you build different buildings across the map and collect money to further your development. Throughout the game, there's multiple areas that you can develop and switch between them as well. So at the beginning of the game, you start off in the countryside where we are now, but the next stage up is the city where we move to, and you can switch back to the countryside and switch between any of the areas that you're currently working on anytime throughout the game. Anyway, one thing I did notice when I first started playing this game is that it takes an absurd amount of money to upgrade and build these buildings right here, but at the same time you gain back that money very quickly. For example, once you move to the big city, the amount of income you get from the buildings are in the trillions compared to that of the millions in the countryside. So it's pretty easy to get started and get going within this game. After about only an hour of playing, I was able to make it to the third stage, being the airport. But very shortly after I reached this stage, I was prompted with this notification saying if I restart my entire progress, I'll make 25% more. So I guess this is some sort of prestiging feature. Anyway, I went ahead and did it and started back from the beginning so I could show you guys exactly what it looks like when you first start out in this game. Anyway guys, that was just a quick look at My Country, and again, this is coming in at number 2. So for the final game I'm taking a look at in this video, it is called The Machines, and this is actually the game that Apple featured within their Apple event when they released iOS 11 and AR games and apps. And it's no surprise after playing this game why they chose this for their Apple event, because it is just an absolutely stunning game to play. The graphics look absolutely incredible and the gameplay is really fun. So starting off, when you first open up the app, it will launch you into the tutorial, and it shows you the basics of the game. Essentially, it is red versus blue. You are the blue team and the red team is the enemy. But continuing with the tutorial, your team is always in the bottom left and their team is always in the top right. Now on your team, you have 2 main characters called heroes, and you control what they do, their movements, what actions they take on the bottom of the screen. Your main hero is on the left and your secondary hero is on the right. But to move them, essentially you just highlight the cursor where you want them to move and tap their icon. But as your hero gets close to the enemy, the only thing you have to do is direct them where to go and select which weapon you want to use against them. Lastly, you have an off-map support option to lay things like turrets or health kits, or just add additional support for your heroes anywhere you want, and these can be placed anywhere on the map. Anyway, that is the tutorial of this game. That pretty much concludes everything you need to know. You just use your 2 heroes to attack the enemy, which also have 2 heroes going against you as well. Now, after completing the tutorial is when the game really impressed me with its graphics. The AR battlefield just looked absolutely incredible. I couldn't believe this was actually being run on just an iPad or an iPhone. It looked like a console game or something I'd play on my PC. And it was really fun to use the iPad just to walk around the battlefield and see exactly what was going on. It helped to learn the map a lot quicker. Anyway, let's get started with this battle. So again, the main objective in this game is to use your 2 heroes to take out the enemy and the enemy's base. But before you can get to the enemy's base, you have to take out the first line of defense, being these towers right here. Alright, now that we have finished the tutorial of this game in its entirety, the game has begun for the very first time against the AI. Again, you can play against other people online as well in this game, but for this first battle, I just wanted to go against the UI. So at the very beginning, I personally like to have one of my heroes go and face everybody all at once, and then have one hero come up from behind and start attacking the back towers. That way one of my heroes is kind of used as a distraction while the other one deals the most damage. Anyway, as you guys can see, you can do whatever you want here, so this is really a strategy game of how you want to take down enemy forces. But once the heroes do die, they respawn back at the base, so you really got to be quick on your feet to adjust your plan. Again, you're controlling the bigger, larger hero on the right side, and you have 2 weapons that you can use against the enemy, and then the smaller character is again on the left side. He's the more agile one, but those are not the only 2 things you can do. You can add support like turrets on the right side, and then you also have a gun that you can shoot from your vantage point or from your view angle of the camera. Anyway, that is on the very left. And to use these support options, you just collect points throughout the game just by playing it. Essentially, they collect at the very bottom, and once you collect enough points to use these options, they will then appear on the screen. Anyway, I am just about to win here in this tutorial game. The very last thing before we can start attacking the base is to get rid of this very last turret right here that's defending it, but once that has been taken out, then we can start attacking the base directly. So now that the base has been opened up, we can just start fighting that. Anyway guys, that was just a quick look at the machines. Again, that is pretty much my favorite AR game that is currently out there for iOS 11. Again, you can play this in all the games we took a look at in today's video on the iPhone 6s all the way to the iPhone 10. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I know it was a rather long one, but there was a ton of stuff to cover and go into with these games. Let me know down in the comment section which one is your favorite, and if I missed one, let me know what your favorite one is as well. Anyway guys, thank you so much again for watching. Before you head out, don't forget to follow me on my social media pages, and of course subscribe to be notified when I release new videos just like this one. Anyway guys, thanks again so much for watching, and until next time, this is Tony signing out.